That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're going to talk about The Munsters, the 8th film directed by Rob Zombie, which has been released on Netflix. On September 27th, technically, 2022.
What other Rob Zombie films do I know?
You've seen his Halloween films.
Yes.
From 2007 and Halloween 2 from 2009.
Mm-hmm. Something about like the clown or the...
My favorite film by him is The Lords of Salem, which I don't know if I made you watch that. And then there's 31 and The Three from Hell.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, we rented that when it came out because that had a very limited theatrical release. And I'm not sure if you saw his debut with House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yes.
With Karen Black. One thing about Rob Zombie is he always hires a lot of really interesting actresses from generations past in his films, which I always appreciate.
Well, I don't even think I knew about this movie, but we received several comments asking us to watch it. So I didn't even look up the movie. I just asked if you wanted to watch it. And I have to say, I did enjoy this movie well enough.
I was expecting more of a train wreck, and I didn't love it, but it is okay, and I think that I was surprised at how closely he's trying to hew to the energy of the original 1960s series and that kind of comedy.
There was a lot about it I liked, and I think after watching Hocus Pocus 2 and Jeepers Creepers Reborn and...
Which Dee Wallace is also in this.
Yeah, and Dee Wallace is in Jeepers Creepers Reborn and this. And then we're about to watch the new Hellraiser one. I was very pleased. I think the attention to detail, the set design,
the production design
costuming, it's all very well done. Like a lot of effort was put into this, and it feels like it has a budget. And in the points where maybe they were limited, I liked how they chose to approach, namely like when they're traveling like in Paris or to Hollywood, they use sort of like cartoonish elements, which I thought was inventive.
It's a fine workaround, yeah.
And my biggest complaint of Hocus Pocus 2 was that the comedy seemed so odd. Like, would kids like this? Would adults like this? I don't think so. But with this movie, as an adult, I found many moments quite funny, and I could see kids thinking it's cute.
I could see kids thinking it's cute, but I also appreciate that Rob Zombie, I don't think was making this for children.
No, but I appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
And then it's PG. I don't know what PG means for Netflix, but to me this seems a little like this could be PG-13. So I did like that. The basic story is, the Munsters. Probably the biggest downside is the story, because this movie feels like it's like the first episode of a show.
Like the extended pilot episode.
It's like an extended pilot episode.
Because this movie's what, an hour 49 or something?
And it's basically, so Lily Munster lives with her father, the Count.
But she's not Munster yet.
Oh, that's right, she's not Munster. She's just Lily, whatever, Count. And she's looking for a man. So we see her go on one date with this guy named Orlok, who is like Nosferatu, which I'll get back to because I thought that was funny. And it doesn't go well, so she's just like, I guess I'll be single, but I do want a man. Okay, so there's that. Then we have this Pinky in the Brain situation, this scientist and his assistant, who's trying to create like a Frankenstein-like monster. And then we see that there is this very famous genius who has this brother who's a comedian, and they both die in a freak accident. So the scientist, the Frankenstein-like guy, he thinks, let's steal the brain of the genius and we'll put that into our monster. But he sends his assistant, his little stupid assistant, to go do it. Floop, who I did like. And I like both of them. And Floop grabs the brain of the comedian, not the genius.
Much like Marty Feldman and Young Frankenstein grabbing the Abby Normal brain.
Yes. So the scientist creates the monster, and he turns out to not be a genius, but like a stupid comedian. So then we see, they name him Herman Munster, and Floop becomes his manager, and he becomes like a comedian.
Overnight,
which was funny. And then Lily sees him on TV and falls in love. So she goes to visit him backstage, asks him out on a date. I thought that scene was really funny. And they immediately fall in love, get married, go honeymoon in Paris. But Lily has a brother, a werewolf.
Lester.
Who I thought was funny too. Lester has like a gambling problem, and he owes this lady
Zoya.
Zoya money. Zoya is the ex of the count. So she is like bitter towards the count, and she convinces the werewolf to trick Herman Munster to get like ownership of the house that the count lives in, to sign it over to her, and he does. So while Herman and Lily Munster are in Paris on their honeymoon, the count is evicted from his home. So he goes to Paris to tell them what happened, and they're like, well, guess we have to find a new home. So they contact a real estate agent played by Cassandra Peterson, sorry, and she helps them find a home in Hollywood. And it's like this decrepit castle. They move in, the end.
Basically, yes.
So it really did feel like it's just setting us up for like a series of of these movies. So I think for like a standalone movie, the story feels really weird. Because
Yeah, like what is this about and what was I supposed to think?
it made me think of like the remake of The Mummy starring Tom Cruise. How the movie is just setting up all these characters for this, like, which included like a werewolf and
Which is technically like the second remake.
yeah, like that movie was just setting up like a franchise.
That didn't.
That's how this movie feels.
Yes.
So for that, you know, for that reason, the story's lacking. But otherwise, there's so much about it I liked. I'm just gonna go through my notes. I was a little confused about what year it was.
I was too.
Because based on the cars and like the technology, like in the home, it seems like maybe the 60s. But then we see people playing music with more modern, like accoutrement. So that was a little semi.
Yeah, but like modern technology was for the most part not evident, so I'm not sure.
Sure. Okay, so when Lily goes on a date with Orlok, Nosferatu, I thought that was really funny.
Richard Brake plays both Nosferatu and Dr. Wolfgang,
Oh,
who is having quite a good year because he's the baddie in Barbarian, and we just saw him as the dad in Vesper.
oh wow. Well,
He's-
good for him.
Well, he's always he's a pretty busy actor, and Rob Zombie's used him before as well.
Good for him. But I thought the practical makeup for everyone looked really good.
I agree,
And
yeah.
he's really creepy as Orlok, and the date scene. Then,
He's like, I come here every night with a date.
and then a lot of the details, like in the background, I thought were so much fun.
Like there's a sign for live dead girls.
Yeah, there's a strip club that says Live Dead Girls. A lot of the books, well, not a lot of the books. We see a lot of posters, signage, books they're reading, like a cereal box. I really appreciated that.
It makes me think Rob Zombie and his wife would probably be fun to get drinks with.
And then we just reviewed Jeepers Creepers Reborn, and I was thinking they should let Rob Zombie do that. He could have done something with that.
Yeah.
Also, I thought the music was really cute.
Zeus scored was the composer who has also done a couple of zombie films.
It feels like if you, again, I don't know music very well, but like if you mix heavy metal with like dance music, kind of.
Oh, sure, in the electro scenes, yeah.
And some of the names of the songs, like Disco Vampire and I'm a Lego Bat, I thought that was really cute. Then there's a sequence where Lily and Herman do a version of I Got You Babe by Cher and Bono that I thought was cute, especially because...
Bono?
Is that his name?
Sonny Bono?
Bono. Sonny Bono, sorry.
Bono? Yeah, that got a little grating because Herman's voice is...
His voice is not
I
great.
think that's supposed to be part of the bit, but it, you know...
It did feel long, but I thought it was cute because, you know, he has a flat head and he's wearing the Sonny Bono wig. I thought... Because then he looked like that character from... Is it Puss in Boots?
The Antonio Banderas?
No, not the actual cat. But isn't there a character like a French guy who has that same
You
hair?
know, I've never watched that cartoon.
Oh. I met the man who played... I was at a wedding a few weeks ago, and the man who choreographed... Because Puss in Boots, that cat, is like... The movement's based on like a human moving. I met the man who did that. It was fascinating hearing how they do it. Anyway, okay, so the time or when Lily goes to try to get a date with Herman and he's checking his schedule to see if he's available for her. I thought that writing was really cute. And that's where I thought like, oh yeah, I could see how kids would think this is funny.
Sure.
And also adults. So that was some really good writing.
I thought that Jeff Daniel Phillips, who played both the dead comedian and Herman Munster I thought was quite good.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because I think probably the things that I didn't love beyond the story are the lady playing Lily.
Okay, so that's Rob Zombie's wife, Sherry Moon Zombie. You put this on, and I wasn't quite awake yet, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like Sherry Moon Zombie. I guess I know what she sounds like.
She's fine, but I think because everyone around her, particularly Herman Munster and the Count, like everyone seems like they're like legit comedic actors. They just seem elevated compared to her, and it feels like it almost feels like she's doing an impression of like if you mix Alexis from Schitt's Creek with like Angelica
With all
Houston
the
as
hand movements.
Morticia, but then you take the funny out of it. And then she got that in her head, and then she just does that for the entire movie.
Yeah, it's all of her lines are said at the same level, the same pitch. There's no fluctuation in
It's
the character.
not like terrible, but I think I think she suffers from being surrounded by other actors who are doing it better.
I think she suffers from being directed by her husband who doesn't know how to direct her, but potentially. But she has some cute moments, and it's not a terrible performance. It just it tends to pale in comparison to everyone else. But
some other things I thought were cute were there's a sign in like the little village they live in that says it's always a good time to die. And then the Count is reading like Playgirl magazine, but it's called Playghoul. And then we see like a picture from it, like a centerfold, and it's like this mangled body. I thought that was funny. Finally, at the end, the reason the Munsters are able to get back on their feet is because after the wolf sells out his family, he goes to Vegas with his share of the money, and he wins super big and comes back and gives Herman his share, which seems like that wouldn't be something his character would do. That seemed crazy as hell. But then we find out that now he's rich, or they're all rich. So if there's another one, I would watch it.
sure,
Or maybe this was to set up like a series.
potentially. I think by the format and kind of the lightness of the story, this would work better as a series.
Yeah.
It feels like, but I don't know. I just think that some of the update, because the thing about the Munsters is everybody reacts to them in horror.
Yeah.
And they don't look that horrific by today's standards. But if you think back to the 1960s and, white America reacting to anybody that's a little bit different, and how that was really how the Munsters and the Addams Family, which both came out the same year, were really appealing to people that were outsiders.
That would actually be the better story. If this were made into a series, I think it should be modernized to like 2022 and maybe flip it so that the Munsters are horrified by what they see, like how awful people are.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like the sweet, innocent people.
Because even Elvira, Cassandra Peterson's character as this realtor, is doing the thing, even on Halloween and dressed as a witch. Which
I
seems
agree.
really strange.
It was a little strange.
But I feel like that was trying to be in keeping with the spirit of the original. It's like, well, I think we need to evolve a little bit from there. Much like, kind of how Addams Family Values felt. But we're still recycling that property as well, because not only do we have a new Munsters film, but in about a month and a half, we'll have the new Wednesday Addams series. So we'll be revisiting all of that.
What would you give it?
Oh, and then a shout out to Zoya, that's Catherine Schell. Who was in the James Bond film On Her Majesty's Secret Service and The Return of the Pink Panther, for anybody that cares.
What would you give it?
It was enjoyable enough, but I feel like it could have been better. 2.5.
I liked it. I would give it 3 out of 5. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.